The night my best friend asked me to check on his mom, I was half asleep on my couch with the TV on mute and an empty pizza box on the coffee table. I had one sock on, one sock off, and my brain was already in that slow, heavy place before sleep. My phone buzzed on my chest. I almost let it go to voicemail until I saw the name. Noah. We had not talked in months, not a fight or anything like that. Life just moved fast. He got a promotion in Dallas, I stayed in Kansas City, and our friendship shifted into random memes and short texts. I sat up and answered, "Hey," I said. My voice came out rough. He did not say, "Hey back Ryan," he said. His voice was tight, too fast. "I need a favor." A big one. My chest went cold. Noah was the calm one between us. He never sounded like that. "What happened?" I asked. "It's my mom." He said, "I've been calling her all day. She is not answering. She never does that. I called the house phone too." Nothing. I rubbed a hand over my face and glanced at the microwave clock in the kitchen. 11:47 page M. "Maybe she went to bed early," I said. It sounded weak even to me. Or her phone died. "She keeps a charger in every room." He snapped, then took a shaky breath. "Sorry. I just know her, man. She always answers. At least she calls back. It has been all day." Images of his mom flashed in my head. Laura Miller. The woman who made grilled cheese for both of us after school. The one who asked follow-up questions when she said, "How are you?" The one who hugged like she meant it. She was the safe place in that house. Everyone knew it. "Did you try your dad?" I asked. There was a beat of silence. "He is out of town," Noah said, but the way he said it sounded wrong. "Look, I am states away. I cannot just jump in my car. You are 10 minutes from her. Please, can you go check on her? Just knock. Make sure she answers the door. Tell me she is fine, so I can breathe." I was already reaching for my sneakers. "Yeah, I said I will go now." "Text me when you get there," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. "Ryan, if something is wrong, we will deal with it." I cut in. One step at a time I hung up, grabbed my hoodie from the back of a chair, and shoved my feet into my shoes without tying them. The night air outside hit my face, cool and damp, carrying that faint smell of rain on pavement that never really dries in the fall. The streets were almost empty. A delivery truck rolled through one intersection, and a lone car idled at a red light, with music low enough that I felt the bass more than heard it. Store signs glowed in patches between long stretches of dark windows. As I drove, my mind ran through stupid scenarios. Maybe she had dropped her phone in the sink. Maybe she was binge-watching some show at full volume and did not hear it. Maybe she was fine and Noah was just tired and anxious. But under all that, there was a knot in my stomach that would not loosen. I turned onto her street, a line of small brick houses with tidy front yards and the same tall maple trees running down the block. Her house sat near the corner with the pale blue shutters. The porch light was on, throwing a wide circle of yellow across the steps and sidewalk. Every other window was dark. I pulled up to the curb instead of the driveway and killed the engine. The quiet pressed in right away, thick and heavy. A dog barked 2 houses down, then stopped. Somewhere far off, a siren wailed and faded. Laura's front yard looked the same as always. Flower beds along the walkway, now just dirt and stems for the season. The small flag near the porch with fading colors that she never remembered to replace. I walked up the path, heart beating hard in my ears. I lifted my hand to knock. That was when I saw her. She was not inside the house. She was on the side of it, sitting on the concrete at the edge of the driveway with her back against the garage door. No jacket, no shoes, just gray sweatpants and an old college sweatshirt that hung off one shoulder. Her arms were wrapped around her knees. Her hair, usually neat and pulled back, fell in messy waves around her face. Even in the weak porch light, I could see the red around her eyes. I could see the empty look in them. I froze. This was not the Laura I knew. That Laura moved with a kind of quiet strength. She laughed loud, talked with her hands, filled a room without trying. This Laura looked like someone had pulled the plug on her and let her drain out. "Laura," I said. She flinched like I had shouted. Her head snapped up. For a second, there was no recognition in her face. Then her eyes focused on me, and some small shock passed through them. "Ryan," she said softly. Her voice scared me more than her face. It sounded thin, like it had been stretched too far. I stepped closer, slow like you do with someone standing on the edge of something high. "Noah called me," I said. "He has been trying to reach you. He is worried." She glanced toward the front door, like she had forgotten phones even existed. Then she looked back down at her knees. "My phone is in the kitchen," she said. I turned the sound off. I could not listen to it ring anymore. The way she said it made my skin prickle. "Is everything okay?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer was no. She let out a breath that shook. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, in a flat voice that did not sound like hers, she said, "He left." I swallowed who I asked, even though I knew my husband. Her mouth twisted around the word Mark packed a bag this afternoon. Said he could not do this life anymore. Said he met someone at work. Someone younger. Someone who makes him feel excited again. Her laugh was short and harsh. "Apparently I do not do that," she added. Anger flared in my chest. Not at her. Never at her. At him. At the fact that she was sitting on cold concrete in bare feet while he was somewhere feeling excited. "I am sorry," I said, and knew it was not enough. She wiped at her face with the sleeve of her sweatshirt. Her fingers were trembling. "I watched him walk to his car," she said. "I thought he would look back at least once. He did not. Just pulled out of the driveway like he was late for a meeting." The garage door behind her seemed to loom, a big blank wall she was pinned to. "Do you want to go inside?" I asked. "We can sit in the living room or something." "I can make coffee." She shook her head fast. I tried. She said I walked into the house after he left, and everything felt wrong. The couch, the pictures, the kitchen table. It all looked like it belonged to someone else. "I came out here, and I could not make myself go back in." She rested her forehead on her knees. "I have been sitting here for hours," she whispered. I sank down beside her, leaving just a little space between us. The concrete was cold even through my jeans. We stared at the dark street together. A car passed at the end of the block. A brief wash of headlights, then gone. "I do not know what I am supposed to do now," she said. "For 24 years I have been his wife and Noah's mom. That was my job. Now it feels like someone fired me and forgot to tell me what comes next. I wanted to tell her she would be okay. That she was strong. That she would rebuild." The words felt thin in my throat, so I did the only thing that felt real. I stayed. "You are not alone," I said quietly. "Not tonight." She turned her head and looked at me. Her eyes were wet but clear in a way they had not been a minute ago, like some part of her had come back to the surface. "Everyone keeps leaving," she said. "We're getting ready to—" "I am not going anywhere," I said. Her gaze searched my face, like she was trying to see if I meant it. The porch light buzzed softly above us. Somewhere, the sprinkler clicked on, then off. She leaned a little closer. Her voice dropped to almost nothing, "Ryan." She whispered, "Please do not leave me alone tonight." The words landed heavy between us, simple and desperate. My heart kicked hard once, and then everything inside me went very calm. I knew in that second that whatever this night turned into, whatever lines it blurred or questions it raised later, I was not walking away. I nodded. "Okay." I said I will not. For a second after I said it, we just sat there on the cold concrete, looking at each other like the air between us had changed. "Okay," she whispered. Her shoulders dropped a little, like some invisible weight shifted. The porch light threw a soft halo over her hair. I noticed she was shivering. "You're freezing," I said. "Let's at least get you inside long enough to grab shoes and a jacket." Her eyes flicked toward the front door again. I could see the hesitation rise up in her, thick and heavy. "I don't know if I can be in there," she said. "You don't have to stay," I said. "We'll be quick. Just in and out. I promise I won't let you do it alone." She stared at the door, then at her bare feet, then at me. Finally, she gave a tiny nod. "Okay," she said. "But stay close." I stood up, then reached a hand down to her. Her fingers slid into mine, cold and small and shaking. I pulled her gently to her feet. For a moment she wobbled and I steadied her with my other hand on her elbow. We walked up the front steps together. I let her lead, but I stayed half a step behind, close enough that she could feel I was there. She unlocked the door with a slow, careful motion, like she was trying not to wake something up. The house smelled the same. Laundry detergent, candle wax, something faintly sweet from the kitchen. But underneath all of that was something new, something empty. She flipped on the hallway light and stopped. From where I stood, I could see the picture frames on the wall. Family photos I'd seen 1,000 times. Noah with braces and a baseball cap too big for his head. Her and Mark at some party, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing. A vacation shot at the beach. Her eyes moved from frame to frame like she was seeing ghosts. "Do you want me to wait here?" I asked quietly. She swallowed. "Can you come to the bedroom with me?" she asked, and then wait at the door. "Yeah," I said. Of course, we walked down the hallway. The carpet felt too soft under my shoes. I remembered running down this same hall as a teenager, racing Noah to the kitchen, hearing her shout at us to slow down and not track mud on the floor. She pushed open the bedroom door and stopped dead. Even from the doorway, I could see what had changed. His side of the dresser was almost empty. A couple of stray items left behind. A watch box. A single tie. The top of the dresser where his cologne used to sit was bare. The closet door was half open. One side full. One side with nothing but hangers. I watched the realization hit her again, like the afternoon had rewound and slammed into her chest a second time. She took 2 steps into the room, reached for the closet door, and then her hand dropped. Her shoulders shook once, twice, and then she sucked in a breath so sharp it made my own lungs hurt. I stayed in the doorway like I'd promised, hands at my sides, useless and aching. "Take what you need," I said softly. "Shoes, jacket, maybe an overnight bag. We don't have to decide anything beyond tonight." Something about those words seemed to steady her. Just tonight. Not the rest of her life. Just this one impossible night. She moved slowly, like she was walking underwater, grabbing socks from a drawer, slipping on a pair of old sneakers, pulling a sweater from the back of a chair. Then she hesitated in front of the closet again. From where I stood, I could see the mix of clothes, dresses, jeans, cardigans, a life hanging on plastic. She reached for a small duffel bag on the shelf and pulled it down. Her movements got sharper now, more focused. Toothbrush, phone charger from the nightstand, a pair of leggings, a soft t-shirt, the small bottle of lotion she always kept by the bed. When she turned back to me, the bag was slung over her shoulder like she'd rehearsed this before in her head. "I don't know why I grabbed all this," she said. "It feels ridiculous." "It doesn't," I said. "We're not running away. We're just giving you space to breathe." On our way back down the hall, she stopped in the kitchen to pick up her phone from the counter. There were at least a dozen missed calls from Noah, a few from other numbers I didn't recognize. She stared at the screen. "I can't talk to anyone yet," she said. "That's okay." I said, "Do you want me to text Noah from my phone and tell him you're safe?" She let out a breath. "Yeah," she said, "just tell him I'm okay for now, and that I'll call him when I can." In the hallway, I sent a quick text. "She's safe. With me. She needs some time. I'll keep you posted." My phone buzzed back almost immediately. "Thank you. Please don't leave her alone." I looked at Laura. She was standing near the door, her bag at her feet, hand on the knob. "I won't," I typed. Outside, the air felt even colder than before. I walked her to my truck and opened the passenger door. She climbed in slowly, gripping the handle like she wasn't sure the ground was on her side anymore. Once I was behind the wheel, engine running, we just sat there for a moment, the house glowing softly behind us. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Do you want to go to my place?" I asked. "It's not fancy, but you can have the bed and I'll take the couch." She shook her head almost instantly. "I don't think I can be in anyone's home right now," she said. "Not even yours." Everything feels like a house. A house is where he left. I need somewhere that is not a life. I know. I thought for a second. What about the riverfront park? I asked by the old bridge. It's quiet at night. We can sit there for a bit, then find a motel after if you want. She closed her eyes like she was searching her memory. I used to take Noah there, she said, when he was little. We'd feed ducks, and he'd throw rocks at the water. You used to come sometimes. I remember, I said. She opened her eyes and looked at me. Okay. She said, take me there. The drive to the river only took 15 minutes, but it stretched out in strange, uneven pieces. We were silent for the first few blocks. Her hands were folded in her lap, fingers curled into the sleeves of her sweater. At a red light, I slipped my hoodie off and held it out. You're still shaking, I said. She looked at it, then at me. I'm fine. She started, then stopped. Actually, no, I'm not. She took the hoodie and pulled it over her sweatshirt. It was too big on her, hanging low around her thighs. Somehow it made her look both smaller and safer at the same time. I can smell your shop on this, she said after a minute. Oil and soap and coffee. Sorry, I said. It's comforting, she said quietly. I did not know what to do with that, so I just focused on the road. We pulled into the small gravel lot by the river. The park lights were dim, more suggestion than illumination. The river moved in slow, dark waves, reflecting the glow of the city in broken pieces. We got out and walked toward a bench near the edge of the water. The air coming off the river was colder, but cleaner somehow. She hugged herself and sat down. I sat beside her, leaving just a few inches between us. For a while we just listened. The water. The distant hum of traffic. A train horn far away. I don't know when it started, she said finally. The leaving. I keep trying to find the moment I glanced at her. Her eyes were on the water, but I could tell she was looking backward in her head. For years I told myself we were just busy. She said work. Bills. Raising Noah. You know. Life. We stopped going on dates, but that was normal. Right. We stopped touching in the kitchen unless we were shifting past each other. We stopped talking about anything deeper than schedules and grocery lists. Her voice got softer. I kept waiting for a phase to end. She said I didn't see it was a slide. I listened. My chest hurt, but I stayed quiet. I tried to fix it. She went on. I bought new clothes. I cooked his favorite meals. I suggested vacations, counseling, anything. He always had a reason. No money right now. Too busy at work. Too tired. It was like he had one foot out the door for years, and I was the only one pretending he didn't. She laughed once, humorless. And today he finally just moved the other foot. She said. I swallowed hard. You didn't deserve that, I said. She looked at me like she was surprised I'd spoken. You don't even know all the details. She said I don't need to. I said I know you. I know the woman who made dinner for 2 extra teenage boys without complaining. I know the woman who drove me home when my own dad forgot my birthday and I pretended it didn't matter. Her eyes widened a little. You remember that? She asked. Yeah. I said, you made me a cupcake with 1 candle on it. You said, we don't skip birthdays in this house. I never forgot that her lower lip trembled. She looked back at the water fast, like she was embarrassed. That was nothing, she said. It was everything at the time, I replied. We let that sit between us. The wind brushed her hair across her face, and without thinking, I reached out and moved it away. My fingers brushed her cheek. Warm. Soft. I pulled my hand back quickly, but the moment hung there, charged and strange. Her eyes met mine. Something in them had shifted. Not just pain now. Something searching. This is weird, isn't it? She said quietly. Me sitting here with you like this. Noah's friend. Yes, I said honestly. It is weird. She waited, almost like she expected me to pull away. But weird doesn't mean wrong, I added. It just means it's not what we pictured. A small, tired smile touched her mouth. You always did talk like you were older than Noah. She said, I drank a lot more black coffee. I said. She actually laughed. A real one this time. Short, but real. The knot in my chest eased a little. After a while, her shivering came back stronger. She rubbed her arms. "We should find you a bed," I said. "Not a bench." She nodded slowly. "I can't go back there," she said. "Not tonight." Quote, "There's a motel up the road," I said. "Clean enough. I can get us a room with 2 beds." "You sleep?" "I keep my promise." Her eyes met mine. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she asked. "You don't have to keep rescuing me." "I'm not rescuing you," I said. "I'm just staying." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay," she said. "Then stay." We drove to the small motel off the highway, the kind with a flickering sign and a vending machine out front. I paid cash for a room with 2 beds, ignoring the receptionist's bored glance. When we stepped inside, the room smelled like old cleaner and air freshener. 2 double beds, a small table, a TV bolted to the wall. It was ugly, but it was a place that belonged to neither of us. Somehow that made it easier. Laura stood just inside the door, bag still over her shoulder. "This feels unreal," she said. "Unreal can be okay for one night," I said. She nodded, then looked at me. "Can you stay until I fall asleep?" she asked. "Just until I know I'm not going to wake up alone somewhere I don't recognize." "Yeah," I said. "I'll be right here." She went into the bathroom with her bag and closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed closest to the door, staring at the patterned carpet, listening to the faint sounds of running water in cabinet doors. When she came out, her hair was pulled back and she'd changed into leggings and an oversized t-shirt. My hoodie was still on over it, sleeves too long. She looked smaller, softer, but there was a steadiness in her eyes that hadn't been there on the driveway. She climbed into the other bed and pulled the blanket up, lying on her side facing me. The lamp between the beds cast a warm circle of light. I stayed sitting on my bed, leaning back against the headboard for what it's worth. I said, "I don't regret answering the phone tonight." She watched me, eyes shiny in the lamplight. "Thank you," she said, "for not leaving me on that concrete, for being here in this ugly room." She reached out across the gap between the beds, her hand hovering in the air for a second, like she wasn't sure if she should. I reached back and took it. Her fingers closed around mine, soft and firm. We stayed like that, 2 separate beds, 1 small connection in the middle. After a while, her grip loosened as her breathing slowed. Right before she drifted off, she whispered, so quiet I almost missed it, "Thank you for not leaving me alone tonight." "I won't," I said. Even after her hand slipped from mine and her eyes finally closed, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing something inside both of us had already changed. I must have drifted off sometime after 3. When I woke up, the room was filled with soft gray light slipping through the thin curtains. For a second, I forgot where I was. The ugly painting on the wall, the hum of the heater, the smell of old carpet did not match my apartment. Then I heard her mourning. Laura said quietly. I turned my head. She was lying on her side, facing me, hair a little messy, eyes puffy but clearer. My hoodie was bunched at her shoulder like she had pulled it close during the night. "How long have you been awake?" I asked. "A while." She said, "I was just making sure this wasn't a dream." And I said, "It's not." She said, "You were really sitting there in that horrible chair snoring." "I was on the bed," I said, "and I do not snore." She gave me a small smile. "I made coffee," I added, nodding toward the tiny machine on the dresser. "It tastes like hot cardboard, but it is something." She sat up slowly, winced and rubbed the back of her neck. "I feel like I got hit by a truck," she said. "That is the official motel mattress experience." I said, "5-star pain." She swung her legs over the side of the bed and stood carefully, like she was testing the ground again. I watched her cross the room, pour coffee, and blow on it before taking a small sip. She made a face. "You were right," she said. "This is bad. But thank you." She came back and sat on the edge of her bed, mug in both hands. For a moment we just sat there, quiet, the sound of her breathing and the heater filling the space. "I should feel different," she said finally. "Like I should wake up and suddenly know what to do." "You went through a war yesterday," I said. "Most people do not have a plan the next morning." She stared down into the mug. "I don't want to go back to the house today," she said. "I know I can't avoid it forever. I know there are bills and mail and a whole life sitting there. But if I walk in that door today, I feel like I might just disappear into it." Then we don't go back today, I said. She looked up at me, searching my face. You have work, she said, a life. You can't just pause it because my husband walked out. I already texted my boss last night, I said. Told him there was a family emergency. She raised an eyebrow. Family. She repeated, you are Noah's mom. I said he is my family. That makes you my family, whether you like it or not. Something moved in her expression at that. It was small, but it was there. That feels dangerous. She said softly, why I asked? Because family is who hurts you the most when they leave, she said. I did not respond for a second. There was too much truth in that. How about this? I said, we give you 24 hours. Not to fix your life, just to breathe. We drive. We find somewhere that is not your house and not this motel. We walk or sit or whatever you want. Tomorrow, we can talk about the house. She held my gaze. You don't have to babysit me. She said, I'm not going to jump off a bridge. I know. I said, this isn't babysitting. This is keeping a promise. Not leaving me alone, she said. Yeah, I said. She looked down at her hands, then back at me. Okay, she said. One day. I don't know what that looks like, but okay. We checked out an hour later. She insisted on paying for half. I did not argue too hard. The sky outside was pale blue. Thin clouds stretched across it. The cold woke me up more than the coffee had. Once we were in the truck, I turned the key and looked over at her. North or south? I asked what she said. Flip a coin. I said north or south. No plan. Just drive. She thought about it, then said, north, so I drove north. City blocks gave way to smaller streets, then to open stretches of road lined with fields turning brown for winter. After a while, the river came back into view, wider here, moving slow and steady. Trees hugged the banks, most of their leaves already gone. What is this place? She asked, looking out the window. There's a state park up ahead. I said trails, a lake, some overlooks. My grandpa used to bring me here when things were heavy. Was it heavy a lot? She asked. Sometimes, I said. She did not push. I was grateful. We parked in a lot by a visitor sign that had seen better days. There were only a few other cars. It was a weekday. Most people were at work or school, living normal lives. I grabbed my jacket from the back seat and stepped out. The air smelled like damp leaves and cold earth. She came around the truck, hugging my hoodie tighter around herself. There is a loop trail, I said, pointing at a faded map on the sign. Not too hard, couple of lookout points, good view of the lake. She stared at the map like it was a test. What if I start crying in the middle of it? She asked. Then I will hand you tissues and pretend I do not notice, I said, or I will notice and not make it weird. Your choice. A tiny smile tugged at her mouth. Let's walk, she said. The trail started flat, then rose gently into the trees. Leaves crunched under our shoes. Some birds moved high above us, unseen. Every now and then a cold wind slipped through the branches and made her tuck her hands into her sleeves. The quiet between us felt different than last night. Not heavy, just open. Did you ever hate me? She asked suddenly. I blinked what I said. No. Why would I hate you? You and Noah, she said. You were always at the house. I was always telling you to take your shoes off inside, or not slam the fridge or turn the volume down. I thought you would think I was the nagging mom. You were the only mom who asked about my day and waited for a real answer. I said, trust me. I never hated you. She stared at the path ahead. I liked having you there, she said. You laughed with Noah. You argued with him. You showed him how to be decent. Some days you felt like... She broke off, shook her head. Never mind. Like what I asked. She hesitated, then said, like a second son and not just his friend. I felt something twist inside my chest. I never knew you saw me that way, I said. She glanced at me. How did you think I saw you? She asked. Like some tall kid always raiding your pantry. I said, which, to be fair, I was. "You were also the one who helped me carry boxes to the attic when Mark made excuses," she said, "and the one who fixed the cabinet hinge without me asking." I remembered those days. Hot summers, cool fall evenings, her moving around the kitchen, music on low, humming under her breath. Mark often walking in late, phone glued to his ear. "I guess I liked feeling useful," I said. We reached the first overlook. The trail opened out to a wooden deck with a railing. Beyond it, the lake stretched wide and still, gray-blue under the sky. Trees ringed the shore in uneven lines. Laura stepped up to the railing and rested her hands on it. She took a deep breath like she was pulling the air all the way down to her bones. "I forgot it could feel like this," she said. "Like what I asked. Like there is more world than just my kitchen and his moods," she said. "Like I'm a person standing in it, not just someone's wife who failed at keeping him." "You did not fail," I said, the words coming out harder than I planned. She looked over at me. The wind pushed her hair across her cheek again. This time, I did not move it. She did, tucking it behind her ear. "You keep saying that." She said, "that I didn't deserve this, that I didn't fail. You barely saw us the last few years. You don't know how I changed." "I know who you were when I needed you most," I said. "And I see who you are right now, standing here while your whole life just blew up. I know enough." Her eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. "Why are you being so kind to me?" she asked. "Really, I could have lied and said it was just for Noah. Just duty. But the truth was sitting too close to deny. Because you were kind to me when nobody else was." I said, "Because I care about you. Because when you asked me not to leave you alone, something in me answered before my brain did." We looked at each other. The wind lifted the edge of my jacket. Somewhere down the trail, a branch snapped under someone's foot, but no one appeared. It was just us on that overlook. "This feels wrong," she whispered, "and also like the first right thing I have felt in a long time. I don't know what to do with that." "We don't have to call it anything," I said. "Not today. We just have to be honest." "Honest," she repeated softly. She turned back to the water, leaning on her forearms. I moved to stand beside her, our shoulders almost touching, close enough that I could feel the faint warmth of her through my sleeve. "I'm scared," she said, "of what I asked, of going back." She said, "Of staying gone, of being alone, of not being alone, of feeling something for someone who was younger and connected to my son and not at all part of the plans I made when I was 22. I swallowed. "You feel something?" I asked before I could stop myself. She let out a breath, her mouth curving into something like a sad smile. "You held my hand in a motel with 2 ugly beds," she said. "You sat on concrete with me while I fell apart. You are the only person who has looked at me in the last 24 hours like I am not broken glass. Yes, Ryan, I feel something. I'm trying very hard not to, but I do." The air between us went tight. I turned, so I was facing her fully. She kept her eyes on the water, but her hands gripped the railing. "I would never judge you for that," I said. "I feel something, too." Her eyes snapped to mine, sharp and searching. "You're a good man," she said softly. "Too good to get caught in my mess." "Maybe I get to decide that," I said. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The world narrowed to the space between her mouth and mine. I could see the rise and fall of her chest, the small muscle jumping in her jaw. She took a step closer. Our shoulders touched now. It felt like crossing a line. "This doesn't have to be anything," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "We are both raw, hurt. Maybe it's all just that. Maybe." I said. "But it doesn't feel like just that." Her hand lifted, hesitated in the space between us, then rested lightly on my chest, over my heart. My pulse jumped under her palm. I knew she could feel it. "Tell me to stop," she said. I looked down at her, at the woman who had fed me after school, and now stood with me like this on a cold overlook with her life in pieces I can't. I said. She rose onto her toes in one smooth motion and kissed me. It was soft at first. Careful, testing. Her lips were warm against mine, and for a moment I forgot about everything else. The house, Mark, Noah, rules, all of it. There was only the way she leaned into me, the way her fingers curled into my jacket, holding on. I kissed her back, gently, not pushing, not pulling, just meeting her there in that fragile middle. When she pulled away, her eyes were wet again, but she was smiling. Really smiling. It made her look 10 years younger and a little more like the woman I remembered from my teenage years. That felt, she searched for the word real. "Yeah," I said. My voice came out rough. It did. She let her hand drop but did not step away. "I don't know what this means," she said. "I don't know what comes next. I just know I don't feel quite as alone when I'm standing next to you." "Then for today," I said. "That is enough." She nodded slowly. "For today," she said. We stayed there on the overlook a little longer, side by side, our shoulders touching, both of us knowing the line we had just crossed and knowing there was no easy way back. We left the overlook when the wind got sharper and her fingers started to go numb. Back on the trail, she walked closer to me than before. Our arms brushed now and then. Neither of us moved away. At the truck, she stopped before getting in and leaned against the door, staring out at the trees. "Do you ever feel like your whole life just split into two parts?" she asked. "Before and after one moment?" "Yeah," I said. "Sometimes that moment is quiet, too. Not loud like in movies. Just a phone call at midnight." She looked at me with a small, tired smile. "Sorry about that." She said, "I'm not," I answered. We drove into the small town near the park and found a diner on the main street. Old neon sign, big windows, the smell of coffee and bacon hitting us as soon as we opened the door. The waitress called us sweetheart and darling and poured coffee without asking. We sat across from each other in a red booth that had a rip in the seat. Laura held the menu but kept looking out the window instead of reading it. "Order something greasy." I said, "Grease helps when your life explodes." "I'm pretty sure that's science." She let out a short laugh and shook her head. "You and your science," she said. She ended up getting pancakes and eggs. I got a burger even though it was barely noon. When the plates came, she stared at her food for a long second, then picked up her fork and took a bite. It was small, but it was something. Halfway through the meal, she put her fork down and wrapped both hands around her coffee mug. "I feel guilty." She said quietly about what I asked about kissing you. She said about wanting to kiss you again. About the part of me that feels more alive right now than it has in years. I met her eyes. "You didn't cheat," I said. "He left. He made that choice. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel after that. It's not just about him," she said. "It's about Noah. You're his friend. I'm his mom. There are rules in the universe about that." "Probably," I said. "But the universe is bad at writing rule books." She looked down at her hands. "I don't want you to lose him because of me," she said. "I don't want him to feel like you picked me over him." "I would never do that," I said. "He's my best friend. You're his mother. If this ever becomes more than just a strange, heavy weekend, he'd have to know." "I get that, but that doesn't mean I pretend none of this is real." She was quiet for a long moment. "What are you asking for?" she said from me. "Right now. Be honest." I thought about it. Really thought. Not just about what felt good in the moment, but about what would matter later. "I'm not asking you to jump into a relationship," I said. "I'm not asking you to make promises. I'm asking to be allowed to care about you, to be in your corner while you figure your life out. And if, later, you still feel something, maybe we see where this goes." Her shoulders relaxed a little, but her eyes stayed serious. "And if I get through all of this and decide I can't do it," she asked, "that I can't risk hurting Noah or pulling you into the mess." "Then I'll be sad," I said, "but I'll live. And I'll still be glad I was there when you needed someone not to leave." She blinked fast, like she was trying to keep tears from falling in the middle of a diner full of strangers. "You make it hard to breathe sometimes," she said softly. "Too much science." I said, "Not enough coffee." That got another small, real smile out of her. She picked up her fork again. After we ate, neither of us wanted to go back to the city yet. The thought of dropping her at that house and driving away made my chest tighten. "There's a little lakeside lodge near here," I said as we walked back to the truck. "My grandpa took me fishing there once. It wasn't fancy, but it was quiet." "Quiet sounds good," she said. So we drove. The lodge sat near the water, a low building with a few cabins scattered along the shore. The woman at the front desk gave us a room key without asking many questions. It was off-season. They were probably happy anyone was there at all. The room we got was small and warm, with wood paneling, a fireplace, and one big bed in the center. My heart jumped when I saw that, and I felt my face heat up. "I can ask if they have one with 2 beds," I said quickly. Laura looked at the bed, then at me. There was no fear in her eyes now. Just thought, "It's fine," she said. "We're both adults. Being in the same room doesn't mean anything we don't want it to mean." I nodded, trying to act cooler than I felt. She went to stand by the window, looking out at the lake. The water was calm, a pale flat gray under the cloudy sky. A couple of ducks moved along the edge. I lit the gas fireplace, then sat on the edge of the bed to take off my boots. For a while, we did normal things. She unpacked her small bag. I turned on the small TV and then turned it off again when neither of us cared about what was on. I made bad coffee with the little machine. She found an old deck of cards in a drawer and made us play a few rounds of a game I only half remembered. It felt almost normal, like 2 people on a simple weekend trip, not like a woman trying to rebuild herself and a man trying to be careful with the pieces. As the afternoon slid into evening, the light outside went from gray to gold. The lake caught some of it, turning warmer. The room felt smaller and softer, the fire casting a low glow over everything. Laura sat cross-legged on the bed, leaned back against the headboard. My hoodie hung loose around her, sleeves covering most of her hands. I forgot I liked things. She said suddenly, "What do you mean?" I asked. "I liked playing cards." She said I liked hikes. I liked sitting by water and reading trashy novels. Somewhere along the way, I stopped doing all of that. I just kept doing whatever kept everyone else moving. She looked at me. "Do you know what my favorite color is?" She asked. "Yellow." I said the kitchen walls. That was for Mark. She said he liked yellow. I don't think I ever had the nerve to repaint. "So what's your color?" I asked. She thought about it, then smiled. "Dark green." She said, "Like those trees by the overlook. Like this blanket." Quote. She tugged at the dark green throw at the foot of the bed. "There you go." I said, "First piece of you that belongs only to you." "Dark green." She laughed softly. "I need more of those." She said, "Pieces that are mine." "You'll get them," I said, "one by one." She studied my face for a long moment. "What about you?" she asked. "What do you want, Ryan?" "Not for me. For you." It took me a second to answer. I wasn't used to thinking about it out loud. "I want a life that feels honest." I said finally, "I want to work with my hands. I want to be with people who tell the truth, even when it hurts. I want to be with someone who looks at me like I'm more than a backup plan." Her eyes softened. "You are more than that already," she said. "Sometimes it doesn't feel like it," I admitted. She slid off the headboard and moved closer, still on her knees on the bed. She reached up and put her hand on my cheek, her thumb brushing my jaw. "I see you," she said, "clearer than you know." I turned my head slightly and kissed the inside of her wrist. Her breath caught. We didn't rush. We sat there for a while, close, talking in low voices. About nothing big and everything at once. Childhood stories. Songs we loved. Foods we hated. She told me she once dreamed about opening a small bakery, but gave it up when money was tight. I told her I once thought about leaving town and never did because I was afraid of leaving the people I cared about behind. At some point, words turned into touch. She leaned in first, resting her forehead against mine. I closed my eyes. Her hand slid to the back of my neck. When she kissed me this time, it wasn't testing, it was choosing. We kissed slow, careful, with all the breaks we needed. We stayed close under the dark green blanket, the fire low in the corner. Nothing about it felt rushed or wild. It felt like two people who had been standing on the edge of something for a long time and finally let themselves step forward. Later, when we lay side by side, her head on my chest and my arm around her, she spoke into the quiet. "This doesn't fix everything," she said. "I know," I said. "It doesn't mean I'm ready to be someone's girlfriend," she said, "or that I know how to tell my son that I spent the night in a lodge with his friend." "I know that too," I said. "This is just tonight. You said that yesterday. It can still be that." She nodded against me. "But I won't pretend it meant nothing," she added. "It did. It does." Quote. "Same," I said. We fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, both of us breathing steady for the first time in days. Morning came with pale light on the water and a knock from the housekeeper we ignored. We stayed in bed a little too long, holding on to the quiet. By late morning, though, the real world started to press back in. Bills. Papers. A house with his side of the closet empty. "I need to go back today," she said finally, sitting at the edge of the bed, feet on the rug. "If I keep running, I'll fall apart worse when I stop." "I'll drive you," I said. She looked back at me with something like sadness and gratitude tied together. "I knew you were going to say that," she said. "Of course you are." The drive back to the city felt heavier than the drive out. We held hands on the center console most of the way, our fingers laced together in the space between us. Neither of us talked much. When we pulled onto her street, she went quiet. The house looked the same. Porch lights still on. Mailbox full. She sat there for a long moment, staring through the windshield. "I'm terrified," she said. "I know," I said. "But you're not the same woman who sat on the driveway yesterday." She turned to look at me. "What if I ask you for something selfish?" she asked. "Ask," I said. She took a breath. "I need to walk into that house alone," she said. "If you come in with me, I'll lean on you for every little thing. I'll make you my shield. And I can't do that. I need to prove to myself I can stand in my own kitchen without someone holding me up." The words hit my chest hard, but I understood. "So you want me to leave?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "I want you to stay. Just not inside. Sit here. Go get coffee and come back. I don't care. Just stay close. Let me know you're near. But let me walk through that door on my own 2 feet." I nodded slowly. "Okay." She said, "I can do that." She reached over and framed my face with both hands. She kissed me once, soft and sure. "Whatever happens next," she said. "This weekend mattered. You mattered. You reminded me I am still here. I'm not just his wife. Not just Noah's mom. I'm me." "You always were," I said. She swallowed, then opened the door and stepped out. I watched her walk up the path, head high, shoulders back. She paused at the door, looked back once, then went inside. The door closed behind her. I sat there in the truck, hands on the steering wheel, heart pounding. 20 minutes passed, then 30. I thought about texting. I didn't. After about an hour, my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. "I'm okay. Go home. Thank you." That was it. No extra words. No heart emojis. Just that. I stared at the screen, then typed back. "Anytime." The next few days were strange. I went back to work, changed oil, fixed engines, joked with guys at the shop. On the surface, everything looked normal. Inside, nothing was. She didn't call. I didn't push. I told myself she needed time. Noah texted me once. "Thanks again for checking on her. She said she's making some big changes." "You good?" "Yeah," I wrote. "I'm good." She's stronger than she thinks. He sent back a thumbs up and a picture of his new apartment in Dallas. I stared at it for a long time, wondering if he'd hate me someday or if he'd just be confused. A week later, on a Friday, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. My name in familiar handwriting. I took it inside and sat at my small kitchen table. For a second, I just looked at it, heart banging in my chest. Then I opened it. Her letter was simple. No drama. No long speeches. She told me she had met with a lawyer, that she was starting the process of divorce, that she was scared and sad, and also more herself than she had felt in years. She wrote that she was not ready to be with anyone right away, that she needed to build a life that belonged to her first, a life where she knew her own favorite color and could stand in her own house without feeling like a guest. But she also wrote this: "I can't pretend what happened between us was just comfort. It was more. You are more. If you want to see where this might go one day, if you are willing to be patient and honest with me, I will be at the State Park Overlook on Sunday at sunset. You don't have to come. There is no pressure. Whether you are there or not, I will keep moving forward. But I would like to know if I am walking alone, or if somewhere down the trail you're willing to walk beside me." I read that last part 3 times. My first thought was that this was complicated, messy, risky. My second thought was that I could still feel her hand in mine on that motel bed, still hear her whisper asking me not to leave her alone, still see the way she stood a little taller on that overlook after we kissed. Sunday came with a clear sky and a long day at the shop. I tried to work late to distract myself. It didn't work. At 5:30, I was sitting in my truck with the engine running. I drove north. The park lot was almost empty when I pulled in. The sun was low, turning the tops of the trees orange. My heart hammered as I walked the trail, every step louder than it should have been. When I came around the last bend to the overlook, she was there. Laura stood at the railing in a dark green jacket, hair pulled back, watching the water. She looked different. Still tired, still bruised, but there was a new line in her posture, something steady, something that said she had walked into her house and not disappeared. She heard my footsteps and turned. For a second, we just looked at each other. Then she smiled, not wide, not bright, but real. "You came," she said. "Yeah," I said I came. I stepped up beside her, close enough that our arms brushed. We both faced the water. The lake held the colors of the sky, orange and pink and gold. So I said, "What now?" She let out a breath now. She said, "I go back and keep untangling my life. I sign papers. I move furniture. I figure out what I like on my pizza when it's not about anyone else." She turned to me. "And if you still want to be here," she added, "we take it one step at a time. No promises we can't keep. No secrets from Noah. Just honesty and patience. And whatever this is between us, that sounds like something I can do," I said. She held out her hand, palm up. I looked at it, then slid my fingers into hers. "We are going to hurt people," I said quietly. "Maybe ourselves. We are going to hurt anyway," she said. "Life does that. I'd rather hurt moving towards something real than stay numb in something dead." I squeezed her hand. The sun dropped lower, sliding behind the trees. We stood there together, our hands linked, watching the light change. I didn't know exactly what would happen next. I didn't know how long it would take for her divorce, or how Noah would react, or how many times we would doubt ourselves. I only knew one thing for sure. The night she whispered, "Please don't leave me alone," something in me said yes and never let go. Now, standing beside her on that overlook, I knew I wasn't just staying for one night. I was choosing to stay for whatever came after.